right, how's everyone doing this afternoon? The sun came out. I am so psyched to be here standing in support of Ben for City Council. And I just, I reviewed the literature, and I think, everything he's running for and everything he's standing for in this campaign is absolutely spot on. We need to treat housing as a human right. We need to guarantee housing for all in our society. Do people in this room agree? Why is it, as Democrats, as progressives, when it comes to something like health care, I think we as, people on the left, people as progressives, we all agree that the government will play a central role in making sure everyone has health care. When it comes to education, this is something we figured out hundreds of years ago here in Massachusetts, is that when it comes to education, the government will play a central role in making sure that every child has a complete education, and we need to do more on that front. Then when it comes to housing, it's astounding how many people call themselves progressive, call themselves Democrats, and they say, well, there's really only so much we can do. It's a free market society. Baloney. What we need is a guaranteed program of housing for all, and that's the agenda that Ben is running on as I read through his platform. So let's hear it for Ben. I started working with Ben around the EMF situation. I, had the opportunity to go on the Young Jerks with Lauren, who's in the room here. So I got to know the EMF building. It was a charming, historic, one-of-a-kind venue, art space, practice space, rehearsal space, space for small business, all the things that are being pushed out by corporate real estate, by real estate speculation. And, when that building was in the, when we were in the struggle taking on John DiGiovanni and these corporate real estate interests, one of the things I said, we gathered in Harvard Square, and I said, folks, if you keep showing up, I'm going to keep showing up. And I view this campaign really as Ben stepping up and taking that experience and saying, we're going to use this experience as the fuel to enter the political arena and make change. And that's amazing. That's how change happens. Am I right? Right now, Ben's been working with me and with many people in this room on the Sullivan Courthouse struggle. Who here have you all heard of the Sullivan Courthouse? Who hasn't? I'll tell you just a little bit about the Sullivan Courthouse. Sullivan Courthouse is that giant 200-foot building down in East Cambridge. It's been in the public domain, that site, for 206 years. And the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we're in a program of austerity in both Massachusetts and the federal level. Commonwealth of Massachusetts didn't choose to maintain the building, and only a few decades after it opened, it got basically abandoned and declared surplus property. Now, when the state declares surplus property under the law, they have the opportunity to come to the city and say, hey, do you want to participate and perhaps take over this property, use it for public use? Unfortunately, with the land, the value of land skyrocketing all around us, with people being pushed out of their neighborhoods, for some reason our city didn't think it was worthwhile to participate in trying to hold on to that land. And our city said, no, we want nothing to do with it. State, you sell it to the highest bidder, sell it to a commercial developer. Now, I think when we elect someone like Ben, I get the sense that when we have the opportunity to hold on to our land, I think Ben's going to stand up and say, yes, let's keep public land in public hands. Isn't that what you're going to do, Ben? That's right. So that's the kind of person we need. Ben's talking about things like social housing. Well, we need the land for that. We can work on things like community land trust. There's so much work that we need to do here in Cambridge. I just came from Somerville. I was speaking at the Our Revolution Somerville meeting. And I'm sorry to say, folks, Somerville is ahead of us in many ways. We could be doing so much more. After rent control ended in the 90s, the city of Cambridge declared an emergency in the shortage of affordable housing. They did this about 20 years ago. But when you look at what we've done some good things, but there's so much more that we can actually do. Our city considered, almost 20 years ago, our city considered strong condo conversion protections, and they came before the city council. Our city council has the power to pass stronger protections against condo conversion. Our city council rejected that. They said, no, we don't want to protect against condo conversions. What we've seen in these past 2 decades is the wholesale displacement of the working class from Cambridge. And we continue to see this displacement in neighborhoods like the Port, where I live. And when we elect Ben, he's going to be a voice who will represent the working class and represent people who are being displaced. Am I right about that? Yeah. Okay. Can I keep going for a few more minutes? Okay, because I'm fired up. And so, what are some other policies we can implement? Ben's talking about rent control. I'm proud to say that I've introduced legislation that will repeal the statewide ban on rent control. This legislation, I filed it with, I'm the co-lead presenter of the legislation. I'm working in partnership with a new state rep, Nika Elgardo from Jamaica Plain. Who's heard of Nika? Bright star in our state. And what this legislation will do is it will allow us on the local level to really bring renters and owners alike together to talk about real solutions for stopping displacement. And this isn't a far-fetched idea. I hope you all know that in the state of Oregon, they just passed a statewide rent stabilization law that went into effect. It's going to limit rent increases so we don't have those cases, and I see these cases every day in our community. We don't have these situations where people walk in and they have more money than they know what to do with, and they pay cash for a triple-decker, and they tell the tenants, you all have to get out. You can see it in these neighborhoods. You see dumpsters on every street. What are those dumpsters? Those dumpsters are I call them the dumpsters of displacement. And what they represent is a triple-decker that's being stripped down to the frame. They're throwing everything out, and then they're rebuilding it as luxury condos, and they're doubling their money, and they're moving on. We welcome investment. That's a cool thing. But what we need are policymakers who understand the impacts of displacement. What we need are people with the curiosity and the vision and the courage to ask the tough questions and say, wait a minute, why should a John D. Giovanni, why should, a Liggett McCall down at the Sullivan Courthouse, why should someone get to come in just because they happen to have a bunch of cash, throw down that money, renovate the building, flip it, double their money, and move on, and displace the community that has made our city so special in the first place. We need policymakers who understand these issues, and we need people who have the courage who will stand up and fight back. And I have confidence that's who Ben is going to be, and so that's why I'm psyched to be here. I could talk about housing all night, but I'm going to wrap it up there and just say congratulations on getting started, and let's all come out and support Ben going forward.